developed through hard work, good strategies, persistence, dedication, and input from others. Where focus goes, energy flows. So focus your energy on continuous learning and stop wasting time thinking about looking smart. Build resistance, build vulnerability, build courageousness, and face adversity with a smile. Become comfortable with uncomfortable. You know, the only person...
Yep. That cut us off early. I don't even know why I'm like down here. Hello, Simone.
Hey, Kristian Lavolsi. It is Wednesday. We're on. This is the hot seat. Are we live?
I have no idea, but let me just switch to this. And now it's just me again. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Let me just switch Simone in. There you are, Simone.
Hello. It is Wednesday. We are here with the hot seat. Our intro decided to cut short today, but that's okay because we don't really need one anyway. Kristian, give me a win for your day.
Well, the win for your day today, win for my day. I actually spent some time today with one of our clients who road tested their new leadership psychology assessment on me. Simi was here. She flew down from Melbourne.
Okay. I knew exactly
and I spent the first 5 hours of my day workshopping with her. So
wow! Oh my goodness! Not a conversation for right here, but I can't wait to hear about all the details.
It was really good. It was it was pretty cool. I really enjoyed it.
Amazing! I'm really excited to hear more about that. Okay, not for right now. We're here for the hot seat. We're here to talk about business strategy and how you share that and what you do within your organization. So I'm excited to dive into this because I think there's a lot of different perspectives here on companies that don't actually share any of the strategy or any of those internal processes with their front line, and then other people that overshare potentially and are dealing with the opposite effect. So
DJ Blake in the house.
DJ Blake, aka Iron Man, because it's
Iron Man.
My first question for you today, Kristian, is should we involve our teams, our employees, our talent, whatever you like to call them, in the development of your business strategy? So should they be having a say in these bigger topics?
Look, Simone, involving your employees in the development of a business strategy can actually offer numerous benefits. So in simple context, yes. But it's also essential to consider the context, the size, and also the nature of your organization, okay? But some of the pros that are involved in involving them is that you get a diverse perspective. You also get increased buy-in when you go to rollout. There is always an enhanced morale, particularly if you've got the right people on the bus and they're all A players. It allows you to unearth a lot of hidden challenges that you as an owner may not be aware of. It also encourages a culture of openness, which is really important in a growing, thriving business. Some of the cons, though, around it is that it's time-consuming, which means it's expensive. There is a potential for too many opinions, and if you're not listening to the opinions, people get irritated. So if you're not doing the feedback loop, there are also security and confidentiality concerns for some clients. There's also the implementation complexity, and then also the potential misunderstanding. Now, a lot of those cons occur when you don't bring an expert strategist in, when you're just doing it yourself. Because obviously when we go in, we have all those control measures in place. And people often tell me, oh, but we've got a strategy. Mate, you barely have goals. Right? Like I've heard people mouth off in the past going, oh, I can't believe, to clients, I can't believe you guys spent 40 grand in getting a strategist in. And then the client's like, yeah, but we went from 8 million to 20 million in 3 years. Oh, right. And, client then goes, well, now we also pay that person 150 grand a year to just keep us in check because we're making $3 million more a year. So, this is where people have misconceptions, right, around it. And it's really hard sometimes, but I have a philosophy. I can't serve everyone, and I certainly don't have the time. So it's convenient. But I think it's really important for people to understand that. Now, for those of you who don't have the money to invest, then you've got to look and go, well, do I actually have a business worth keeping? That's really important. But what you can do is kind of create a hybrid approach, right? So consider a balanced approach where employees are consulted on specific stages of the strategy development. This can actually be useful. Make sure you've got feedback mechanisms. I'm pretty sure that I say this every single day, all the time. And then also look at what clear communications and pilot programs you can put in place. You can help him out, help the little man out.
This is what happens when you have codes on your devices. They can't get into them. But instead of asking Dad, who's probably comfortably sitting in the lounge room, they come in and annoy me. But that's okay.
That's all right. You can have a chat to Gav afterwards and say, Gav, you can't send them in there when I'm doing a live stream. But you know what? We all know that Kristian doesn't care, and our customers should be embracing it. We are a family-first business, and we thrive on that. So, no issue. That's why it's like, just help the middle child, right? He already struggles being...
Poor middle child always gets...
He never comes in, though, because normally it's just Blake or Ethan. So... now look, that's it.
It's a interesting perspective, isn't it? It's the value that's perceived on having external help come in these things, so you can actually get out of that seat and really get into the thinking yourself instead of having to facilitate, which I think is one of the great points that you mentioned there. So you kind of already answered my second question, but I'm interested to dig into this a little bit more because I was in a financial team leading a large team in the not-for-profit sector around when the NDIS first came in. So there's huge change management and different strategies that were coming in for the business. And I'd really like to understand your opinion on, should you really communicate those all the way down to the front line? Because we were having really confronting conversations when this change was coming through. And it was really interesting to see the teams that weren't coping with the amount of change when this whole industry was upheaved, and other people who were embracing it. And we called it, we were riding the tsunami. That's literally what we were doing with the rollout of the NDIS. So I'd love to know your opinions and your experiences with some of your clients. How do employees cope when you come in with a brand new strategy and everything is changing?
Well, Simone, the reason why you guys are riding a tsunami is because the government rolled out a rushed, overly simplified shit show that's now costing us as taxpayers more than Medicare, and it only services 10% of the population. So, it's disgusting. That's the first thing. And the problem that we've got is no government is going to have the courage to either scrap it or change it, because it's a guaranteed election loss. So that's why you were riding a tsunami. Two, your organization that you were working for didn't consult you guys on the development of the strategy. They basically just came out and said, this is the strategy, go do it. And they probably didn't give you all the steps, because therefore you had to do it in steps. So the communicating your business strategy down into your team is essential for several reasons. All right. One is alignment. Two is ownership. Three is engagement. It's all about the efficient execution, right? The consistent decision-making, but the feedback loop, the enhanced trust, and also facilitating adaptability. Okay. So that is actually why you do it. Now, most people grab a strategy and they don't roll it out. Most. Yeah. The ones that do the strategy and then roll it out never consulted anyone. The rest of them didn't even know why they rolled the strategy out in the first place. Those points that I just gave you now is the reason why you do it. And most people don't know the why. I mean, hey, it's got it right there. Live with purpose, right? You got to have purpose in everything you do. you know, and you know, and if you're writing a strategy just to make more money, well, then you've already lost the battle, right? Money's a byproduct of all the actions that you take, right? Of all the decisions you make.
Yeah.
That includes decisions you don't make. So, you know, but I guess what I'm saying too is while you're communicating the strategy, right, how you do it is equally important. And this is some of the things I touched on. It's got to be simplistic. It's got to have multi-channels, right? You got to use various communication channels within your organization, right? You got to have repetition, right? That first 2 or 3 weeks, think of onboarding people. If you don't have an onboarding strategy, you know, and some companies have a 4-week onboarding strategy, they are proving to be the most successful in retention and also getting the best performance out of people, right? So same thing with the strategy, okay? It's got to be repetitive, and onboarding it is really important. You've got to cascade the message, right, throughout the entire organization. You've got to involve middle management as well, you know, not just senior management. And you've got to then have, you know, what we've done in the past is interactive sessions to really sell it, right? You got to sell it. And you've got to measure the understanding. So all of that will help alignment, engagement, and consistency throughout.
Yeah. Okay. That's really interesting. All right, I'm just going to roll straight anyway. What are the challenges that you could face as an organization when you communicate this strategy down the line and people aren't on board? Like, what do you expect that you could go through a huge change in your staffing, that people are going to leave, that people are going to want to, what are your thoughts on that? It could involve a big turnover, right? If you're making some significant changes in your strategy.
Look, if you'll only get that if you haven't consulted the team, right? But some of your strategy might be to get rid of all the B and C and D players, right?
Yeah.
One of your strategies might be downsizing. Well, of course, you're going to piss off people, eh? You know, who gets the redundancies, who doesn't, you know, who's getting performance managed out. So, you know, there's a lot of variables, but some of the things that we've seen, especially with failed strategies, none that I've written, but, you know, ones that, well, because we involve everybody along the journey, and we help our customers roll it out, and, you know, everything we're talking about. These are great questions because, you know, I do this every day for a living. It's except when I'm on the hot seat or in a mastermind call, which is, you know, not that much. But the complexity and ambiguity of a strategy, okay? Strategies are complex, and they, you know, and they can contain ambiguous terms, so you need to explain them, right? There's also the volume of information. You know, I walk into companies who've had strategic plans and they're 75, 80, 100 pages long, right? I come along and I write 1 page, and it keeps everyone aligned because it's simple. It removes that complexity. It doesn't have volumes of information. It forces you to have information sessions, right? You know, it allows you to have complete connection between levels of the team. Whereas normally, most of these strategies written by, you know, really big companies that charge you volumes and volumes of money, because that's exactly how they put their value on their cost. Whereas I'm just expensive. Right? You know, like, I just don't care. No, the reality of it is I have the confidence in the results that we get for people, right? So we keep it simple. So we create less resistance to change. So the challenges that most people get, and you said it, is that resistance to change. But if you know, it's also the lack of relevance. It's not a strategy isn't applicable to everybody. You know, in some of our clients, you know, whether it's engineering firms, hospitals, buyers agents, metal fabrications. You know, someone actually asked me yesterday. They said, "How in the hell are you a specialist across so many different industries?" And I said, "I'm not. I'm a strategist. Strategy. There are rules on strategy, right?
Yeah,
and they apply to every industry, right?" And he looked at me and he said, "Okay, hey, well, sign me up." That was it. He just, you know, and that, I just stood there and I was like, sure. let's just dive you into a 40 grand contract, shall we? I said, what is it that you bloody want?
Yeah.
Oh, I want to exit my business in 3 years' time. So fantastic. Now let's do it. Because now we've got a clear goal in mind, and that's someone we're going to be working with in the next 3 months.
Yeah.
So, but other things.
Process that you use, especially with the one page, is what I've recognized or heard from my experiences is these really big documents that people have in other processes that just sit in a drawer or on a shelf or something like that, where all of the clients that you're working with, their actual strategies are up on the wall. They're looking at them all the time and they're front of mind. And I know that's something that you say is so important to stay focused and to keep that in your environment as well.
Absolutely. And I mean, I make, I didn't create the strategy that we use, but I've perfected it. I have spent years studying the works of Vern Hainish and Gino Wickman and all of these guys. And, Jim Collins is, probably the singular most influential person in my research and my studies. I'm an expert in that field. When people say to me, are you a growth expert? I'm a strategist, right? The fact that the strategies we write are to, exit your business, to grow your business, to downsize your business. I'm a strategist. I write strategies and I understand how businesses operate.
Yeah.
So it's really simple. But look, some of the other things that can occur, Simone, is, there's cultural issues, there's language barrier issues, there's timing issues, right? Like all of these things are really important to consider when you're rolling out your strategy. Insufficient training, distrust, and resource constraints are massive problems, right? And then there's the big one, competing priorities. Right? Everyone has a competing priority. It drives me crazy, right? Even with Simi today, she said, what frustrates you most about people? Competing priorities, right? And why? Because it pisses me off, because I'm so committed to what I do, committed to my clients, right? Committed to everyone. And yet, I see people, our team sometimes, I'm like, where's the logic in what you're doing, right? Like if you say you're going to do something, deliver it, right? So just as a blanket comment, people say to me, oh, Kristian, you're so good at what you do. You must run really successful businesses for yourself. I'm like, they're successful, but they're a pain in the ass just like yours, right? And I think that's what keeps me relevant, because, unlike business coaches or other consultants out in the ether, and you say this all the time to people, Kristian actually owns companies and with, staff, lots of them. So I've got to be really sharp, but that's where I keep sharp. I'm staying sharp in my own businesses for the benefit of our customers. There's a big part of me that kind of goes, and you've said it to me, why do you keep running these other companies? Right?
Yeah.
I mean, A, they make money, right? So that's one. Two, they're support services for the rest of the organization. But there are days where I kind of go, I could really have a much more relaxed life. I mean, I'd get back a whole day a week minimum out of the working week. So I could go to working less than 4 days a week. And, sure, I'd let go of some money, but I do it because it keeps me sharp. I still can stay connected with why my customers and what are they going through. And our businesses are all high growth. So that's the other thing. They're growing 20% on year. So we can stay really connected to it. And I think that's something I'm really proud of. I realized that today working on leadership with Simi, and, she'll say this is actual fact. She said to me today, she goes, I said, yes, I put words in her mouth. I said, Simi, you look like you're so impressed that I'm more impressive than you thought I was. Right? And she laughs. She said, it's quite scary. I knew that you were really good. And then when I looked at your data, you could see how much work you've invested in you personally. And I took a lot of pride in that. And interestingly, just for your own benefit, the one thing she said that we have to do more from the analysis, she goes, people think they know you, but they don't. They actually have no idea who you really are, because you have this genuine, authentic persona at the front. But what lies beneath is actually humility, empathy, character, love. Like, I looked and I said, how'd you get all that? He goes, just psychometric data. And and she goes, I see glimpses of it in the COD program and other places. But when you did this and how honestly you just spoke, and the whole thing's recorded, so we're going to share some of it. She goes, do you realize how many people would absolutely just fall in love with that side of you? And I went, yeah, but I don't really want that more people falling in love with me. Too many favors. But no, and again, I guess what I'm talking about, me doing that with Simi today, that was strategic, because she came to me and said, I want to road test this on you. I've already got clients doing it, but I want to see. But what she really wanted to understand me. She said, I really want to get into that head of yours. And I'm like, go for it. And I was, again, transparency. So, and we're sharing it now with a total of 7 viewers and then a whole bunch of people. It's interesting. We worked this out, didn't we? We get about 6 to 12 lives, and then 250 to 300 people are watching it afterwards. If you're one of those people, follow the instructions, #replay, right? Don't make me go digging for the data, right? No, I'm just being lazy. But look, Simone, the point I'm making is we're all learning. Yeah. Right? Everyone learns, and it's how much we're prepared to be vulnerable, how much we're prepared to become uncomfortable and become comfortable with being uncomfortable. And that's what strategy is. But sharing it with your team is really important, and getting them involved is really important. And if you're an owner that wants to hold all the cards to your chest, then you're never going to succeed. Okay? Even Colonel Sanders had to share his secret recipe with someone, right? Otherwise, Colonel Sanders wouldn't be in business anymore, aka KFC, right?
And I think all that comes down to the work that you're willing to do personally, right? Because a lot of the time as an owner or as a leader, you feel like you've always got to be the strongest person in the room or the one with all the answers and everything else. So it's really developing yourself to be able to lead from a different place. And that's a totally different conversation on leadership. But it's interesting to see how that intertwines with strategy and how you filter that down into your organization.
Absolutely. What I've realized, the hardest thing about doing this now, I have so many monitors in front of me, and I just realized that my eyes, and I've got all of these different mini screens of me everywhere, and I'm like, where am I meant to look? And then I look up and I go, camera's right there.
That one. Yeah.
So look, I mean, a great session. I loved it. And who was it the other day that said, I love tuning
about your new photo that's behind you as well.
The what, sorry?
Your new artwork that's on the wall behind you.
Oh, that one. My new Bromley. Yes. Yeah.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah, that's a acrylic painting.
The camera goes that we just see boobs and we don't see a head.
Oh, right. Yes, there it is. Care of our friend David Bromley that arrived this week. So, that was his piece in the last exhibition in Melbourne. I got it. They sent me a photo saying, Kristian, I think this is the painting you've been waiting for your office. And I saw it and I was like, yep, after seeing like 25 other paintings over the year. And then I bought it, and the only condition was that David said he had to display it. And then they went and sold it 3 times at the gallery in Melbourne to then have to go back and tell people, sorry, that painting actually has already been sold. And so there was a few disgruntled people, but I actually did say, listen, I love it, but if someone wants to give me 10 times its value, I'm more than happy to sell it and make a handsome profit. I actually, it's beautiful.
Opportunity and everything, aren't you, Kristian Lavolsi?
There's always an opportunity. Simone Lord, there is endless opportunities in life. It's whether or not you're prepared to take them and someone's prepared to pay for it.
That's right. Well, on that note, Kristian, let's wrap up this hot seat. It's been a great session, as always, talking about strategy and the tools and the develop that in. So I'm looking forward to seeing you in a couple of short weeks. Actually, Christmas is coming closer than what we all probably want. You're coming back to Sydney. We're here for our Evolve Mastermind quarterly event and launching one of your new programs. So that's really, really exciting.
Yeah, it's funny when you say that, right? I just got so excited. My heart chakra just lit up. I have spent 2 years dreaming of putting this program together. And this is a program for mum and dads, for employees, for business owners. And it's all about that statement that's above there. There. It's living with purpose. LWP means live with purpose. And it's nothing you've ever seen before. I'm not sure how I plan to get through it in 10 hours. It's a super intensive, but it's, Lucy started, my wife, who's our head of our graphic design team in our media company in Melbourne. She started the development process, and she looked at me and she said, Kristian, it's 120 pages.
Oh.
And I'm like, yeah. I said, I'm going to fuck these people up right up. Right? It was like, and she's like, you are a terrible man. And, but what it is, this is the self-discovery journey that I went on, right, to find my purpose. And what I've done is I've gone and perfected it. You know, you and our team saw a year ago almost the first draft. When you see this, and that first draft was 20 pages. Yeah. So now all of those things that you guys did, they're actually activities within workbooks. And it's just going to be epic. And the last module is all about how to put it into action. Because I thought originally it was 5 modules and the transformation was module 5. And then I thought, these guys, there's going to be some people here that are going to walk out here, they're going to be so energized, so pumped up, and then they're not going to do anything with it. It's going to piss me off. Yeah. So I thought, I'm going to chuck an extra module in there. So I am, and by the way, any of you listening, you can't have access to it. It's only exclusively for our customers this time around. They're also my guinea pigs. They will also give me the best feedback that I want to make the improvements, and there'll always be improvements. You know, and I'm
is if you actually become one of our clients before December, you could probably then.
Well, actually, I'm not sure because we've only booked a venue for a certain number of people. We booked the Novotel in Sydney Harbour, and you know, I don't want a big group because I mean, okay, some people would argue that the numbers that we've chosen is a sizable group, but I that's the room I want, and then test it out. But moving forward, we're definitely going to do a roadshow in every part of Australia because this is going to be the program that is going to change the lives of people, and everyone that knows my purpose is freedom. Freedom for me, freedom for you, freedom for your family, freedom for your team. But really, it comes down to one more thing, and that is I want people to live their best life, and I only, I want you to live your best life, but I've got to change the world one person at a time, starting with me, right? And so that transformation is what I've gone through, and being a absolute practitioner, right? Yeah. It's what I now want to impart on the world, and I am so confident about what it's going to do for people because it changed my life. It made a very boisterous, mischievous, imaginative person develop all the disciplines and character that have made me a better father, a better husband, a better strategist, a better friend, a better everything. And, I'm so confident about this. And I want to just, I've been very brave putting it together. And now I want to share it with my closest tribe members and get their feedback. And if their feedback is what I think it's going to be, well, this is, and this is not going to be something we sell at a stupid price. We've already set the price. We already know what it's going to cost to do it. Yeah. And, why? Because I want everyone to be able to access it. I want everyone to be able to go, you know what? I went to LWP, Tony Robbins is UPW, right? Quite hilariously. He's all about unleashing the power within and the self-beliefs and a brilliant, amazing experience. Our clients have done it. I've done it many, 20 years ago. But LWP is completely different.
Yeah.
It's about really honing in, getting super clear, and then taking action. And essentially we create a 12-month action plan to achieve your life goals. And I cannot wait. I really cannot wait. I can't stop talking about it because and by the way, we just made it to 30 minutes. Jack Van Cool, hashtag replay when you watch this. We did it just for you. We could have wrapped it up at 20, but we went to 30.
That's right. I feel like I'm going to have to cue that additional tissue boxes in the room because it's going to get raw. It's going to go to your core. And I know so many people are looking to get to that next deeper level to really understand why am I in business and what do I actually want to achieve. So super excited to have you coming to Sydney in about 7 weeks' time, I think it is. I don't want to even think about the dates yet. It's creeping up.
I got a bit more travel in between that, so Sydney's a bit far away, but we'll see how we go. Simone, I've got to run. I got to call. You got to do kitty stuff. Peace out, everybody. Have a wonderful weekend. I've got to go to an opening of a fancy restaurant tonight as a guest, so I've got to finish off what I need to do. Some more calls to Ireland and UK, and then I'm going out for dinner with my wife. Until then, live with purpose.
With purpose.
Oh, that's it. I'm going to wrap it up. Finish the button. No, hang on. I got to hit this other button. I've got to hear from Adrian.
Go.
Working with Kristian is a game changer. Hi, I'm Adrian Lee from GrowthLink Coaching and Consulting. I started working with Kristian in August 2020 as his LinkedIn growth consultant. We worked together on his LinkedIn brand for about 12 months before becoming business partners in Growth Outsourced late 2021. Kristian is a hidden genius. He helped me break through a significant financial target by restructuring my growth consulting online business offer. I don't know of any one person who can give you so much focus, clarity, and structure to live your purpose and get shit done. He holds you accountable to your words and gives you the tough love when you need it. I love his no BS approach to business and life. Everyone needs a Kristian Lavolsi in their life. Do whatever you have to work with Kristian. This is just the beginning for us, and I am super pumped to continue growing together. Thanks again, Kristian.